Aloha mai kākou e nā poe I ke aina. Mahalo e nā poe mai no ke ia aina. Mahalo e nā poe I ke ia halau, ke ia lumi, no ka ho'olohe mai. O wau Cliff. No hilo mai au, mai ka ahupua o ka hui ula, ma hilo. He Hawaii au, he Hawaii au mau a mau. I'm Cliff, that's what that means. But thanks for having me. Thank you to the 19th and to AP and Wasserman for hosting, and ASU as well for hosting this really informative and cool event. I come from a small island in the middle of the Pacific. It's called Hawaii. And the island that I come from is traditionally known as Moku Okeawe. And today people call it the Big Island. And the older I get, the more I realize how small it actually really is. And that my community sits at this kind of delicate interface between the potential for maximum productivity and kind of this brink of collapse. Like in Hawaii, we depend on over 80% of goods and services. That's our food. That's our energy sources, petroleum, toilet paper, diapers, like everything comes from overseas. So if the ships stop, we're kind of in a bit of shit, so to speak. So it's kind of, it's easy to joke now, but it's a reality that we face where I come from. But that wasn't always the case. When I grew up, we still depended on the outside world, but I felt I was more insulated coming from a Hawaiian community. And the community that I come from, my family, we're ocean people. We're what we call wave sliders. We do also fishing in my family, and we also do a bit of body work. But surfing was something that my family really celebrated, and it was a gift given to me by my father, who was given to him by his father, which was given to him by his mother, and all the way back 90 generations to the first surfer in our family. And a majority of the most famous surfers from where I come from, they are wahine, they're female. So we really, we have a matriarchal society, the Hawaiian people. So the ocean itself and the surfboard and the knowledge, it's very maternal, even if it's passing through Kane. It still has kind of this mother sort of reverence for it. And that's something that was given to me, and it was really great to experience growing up. And as I was in the ocean, growing up, I mean, pretty much live at the beach, sleep at home, go back the next day. I started to develop this passion, this unassuming passion for watching the currents and seeing the way the waves break and beginning to watch the winds and listen to there's a sound when the tide is at a certain height versus when it's on a low tide. I don't know if you folks have ever noticed that going to the ocean, if you had the opportunity. But those different sounds, you don't even have to look. And you can just be laying on your back, like staring up at the clouds, and you're like, oh, it's time to go surf. Like you can be resting and here, okay, it's time to surf. And that's the community I belong to, the beautiful things about it. But being a native Hawaiian, there are also some other sort of stigmas that exist. We are extremely at risk to disease and infection, incarceration, undereducation, misrepresentation, and the lack of representation, especially within certain disciplines. So again, there's this kind of balance between all this great things about being in the ocean and also some of the community pressures and the social systems that exist that I wrestled with growing up. And surfing allowed me to kind of elevate my social status in my community. I was able to get out of those negative statistics because I was getting a bit better at surfing, and that was very respected in my community. But like I said, as I was down, elevating my societal escape, the nature's movement and action just really grabbed me, and I started to learn like, oh, there's like these other ways to describe this that I can communicate to a broader amount of communities who don't know the sound of high tide. And uh, unknowingly, I was developing a passion for science. And that's something that as I would go to the beach, I like knowing the like Latin names and all like the xylem and phloems and all that stuff that was coming around. And I just was like nerding out. And when it came to that time in my life where, I mean, I'd be lying if I was like, I didn't want to just be a pro surfer growing up. Like that was the path. Um, but when I do well in a contest and I bring home like the little, you know, dinky trophy or whatever, it wasn't really brought with that same like pride from my family when I got like A's on my like biology tests or whatever. So it kind of felt pressured because in 2012, a 2008 study in the Materials Research Society journal said that out of the top most 50 impactful institutions in the US, less than 1% is represented as Native peoples, Native Alaskans, Native Americans, and Native Hawaiians. Less than 0.1% is represented in chemistry as a faculty member. There was one in 2012, Native American from Ohio State. So kind of felt like my community needed a scientist more than another surfer. So that's what I went formal training. And it was a bit hard because my peers, they went on to do the tour. They were getting paid killer contracts, driving big trucks and, you know, cruising, partying. And I was struggling to stay eligible. But that being said, I still pursued science and surfing collectively like I was a little kid. And by kind of what Amanda was saying, not letting go of that passion for science. My passion wasn't even surfing. Like, you know, I held on to that passion in science, but I didn't neglect this other part of me that was my identity. I was able to find my way actually into the professional surfing world through my graduate school in California. I was going to school, which where I began my actual professional surfing career. And throughout that, after graduating, becoming like one of the few, very, very few professionals with a advanced, any like past high school education. So with that, I've been able to have this career where I partner now with different companies and brands, such as a footwear company known as Reef. And with Reef, we develop campaigns. I fulfill the basic surfing stuff, but they also strongly support this passion for environmental stewardship, which I just recently came back this morning from Tahiti, where we are visiting a small community which the Olympics 2024 Summer Games is descending upon Teahupo'o, which is a famous wave that the surfing games will be. And this small community is concerned about what the environmental impacts will be of this global conglomerate, the international Olympic situation. So we went down there with some of my formal training. I kind of got in with some of like my friends who surf the wave, and I'm like, hey, let's maybe create a space where we can help to not train, but share our methods that we use to investigate our environmental assessments, allow the people from Teahupo'o to make their assessments, and kind of allow them to choose whether they want to participate in a scientific environmental conversation with the Olympics. It's not me, it's not my lab, it's not Reef Shoes, it's the people of Taupo that I think will lead that conversation. And yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I came from, and I appreciate you folks listening. But honestly, I think the world is changing. You no longer can be just a singular sort of discipline. You can't just be a professor or a lawyer or a business person or a chef or a like we're going to need to do multiple things. The solutions that we need to be creative, and I hope that character shows you that it works. You know, I fall short of it, but there's things out there that maybe you folks can become better. So, mahalo nui.